Ooh.
Hello everyone and welcome to another We Create EDU Hangout. Today we have Steve DiCasa and he's going to teach us all about filmmaking. And I am Jacklyn from SciJoy and we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. Sarah, do you want to go?
Hi, I'm Sara Langworthy. I am developmental enthusiast on YouTube, and my channel is all about developmental psychology and brain development and things like social justice issues and family issues, that sort of thing.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. My channel is Practical Poppins on YouTube and Instagram, because I do that a lot. My channel is all about nannying and parenting and hopefully creating a community of sharing, caregiving, child-raising ideas.
Oh, is it my turn? Oh, okay. Sorry. Hi, I'm Betty, and I'm from ARTiculations, and as you might know from the title of my channel is about art.
Yeah.
I guess that leaves me.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Steve DiCasa. I'm a filmmaker. I have a YouTube channel where I produce filmmaking tutorials. I also have a production company called ReThink Films with a business partner. We do anything you could think of: short, commercial, sketch, music video, dance, all that stuff. And I also work part-time for a company called Maker Studios, which is a huge multi-channel network that they don't want to call themselves anymore. They call themselves a next-generation media company now. But they're a huge, huge company in the YouTube space and beyond, and they are owned by Disney. So I am a Disney employee, which is pretty cool as well. And this is the point where I ask Jacklyn to show my production company's reel if it's working. But if not,
Still trying to figure it out.
no problem, no problem. So that's my shtick.
Cool.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
This is vodka.
Oh,
It's been a long day.
Delicious.
So you guys, it's open to you guys to ask Steve any questions that you want.
So I'll jump in. Steve, I am very new to the YouTube world, and I have absolutely no background in filmmaking at all. And so I'm wondering, what are some of the getting started basics that you would recommend for somebody who's pretty new to the YouTube sphere? I've watched a lot of videos. I've kind of picked up some tips and tricks along the way, but in terms of some of those little gems that that you would recommend for people to know about.
Well, your @ sign underneath your lower third says doctor. You're a doctor?
Yes.
I can't believe I'm about to give a doctor advice.
Okay. The thing I like to say is I'm not that kind of doctor.
I don't think it matters.
I can't cut you open and do operations.
It doesn't matter. You could be a doctor of philosophy or a doctor of literature. I still don't think I'm qualified to give advice. But
yes, you are.
Lord, the pressure's on here. I'd say for beginner, what I see a lot of being overlooked, I see it even on productions that I work on now, is sound. That is probably one of the most important things you can concentrate on, because yes, filmmaking is a very visual medium, obviously, but everybody has a camera now. We have cameras in our phones. In fact, one question I got somewhere in the social media was like, I have a phone. My phone shoots in HD, but I'm thinking about getting a camera. What's the difference? Like, what should I even get a camera because I have a phone?
Right.
I haven't answered them yet, but if you're watching, I don't know. You don't have to. Just figure out a way to put your camera on your phone on a tripod or something.
They have little phone tripods now too, which is ridiculous.
Tower.
Yeah, totally. There you go.
Selfie sticks.
Anything, exactly, anything. But I think where you could really up your quality instantly is sound, and that doesn't necessarily mean buying super expensive sound equipment, really. It's more just be aware of it. If you're in a environment where, for instance, my AC is on, I put it on the lowest setting because if I don't have an AC on right now, I would need much more than this water. But, you know, it's just about being aware of your environment, making sure you're in a quiet setting when you're doing your thing. If somebody is making noise or if somebody is in the other room, work on your people skills and very politely ask them to stop while you're rolling, and then from there, once you want to purchase some sort of a recording device, we could. I don't necessarily like to suggest brands and things, like I don't like being that way, but there are many different kinds of devices you can get to start really thinking about audio. And then once you do have a device, there are some tips. Get the microphone as close to your mouth as possible. Before I even started this, I actually did a test, and I did a test with the microphone that's just built into the headphone here, and I even, if I can get it untangled from here, I even have set up, just in case, it's tangled, a lavalier. I don't know if you can see it. I was gonna use this at first and put this here, but I did a test, and the microphone on the thing is just as good. But just that alone, just going through the test and seeing what sounds good, and just making sure it sounds good. But if I think of anything else as we go, I'll provide it. But Jacklyn, as you're noticing, and everyone else as you're noticing, I ramble. So just cut me off.
No worries.
This is a hangout. We don't have a time.
May I actually ask a quick question about sound that you're talking about? I have a relatively basic hot shoe mic on my camera right now. And I have been told that it has, which I've noticed now, that it has kind of a hum or like a hiss when I'm editing the sound of it, and I'm not sure how to get rid of that.
Okay.
And I've been told there's like a compression or something you can do with it, and I'm just wondering
Before we go on, I just want to say there's someone new that joined our hangout, and I don't think they have headphones. Do you have headphones on?
Not headphones, but I have earbuds.
Oh, okay, because I was hearing a feedback, and since we are talking about sound, I figured my best time to get
By the way, I went and turned off my air conditioning for you guys.
It should be okay. I mean, don't sweat it too much.
Are we good now?
But it's coming back on.
I don't hear any echoing, so I think we're good. But sorry, that's my controlling filmmaker person getting through right now. But to go back to your shotgun shoe mic thing, what's probably happening in that situation is unless I'm wrong, please tell me if I'm wrong, but usually, do you shoot with a DSLR?
I do. I have a Canon T3i.
Okay, usually, if unless you go into the settings, the audio recording is an auto level, which means if you're silent, the camera is looking to find sound, so it'll bring up the level and try to find the talking. So what happens when it's silent? You hear this.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when you start talking, you might be really loud, and then it finds out that you're talking, and then it'll bring it down. But then once you stop talking, it wants to hear more, so it brings that level back up. So in between, and your silences can get more hissy. So what I would say is go into your settings, go into your menu, go to the audio recording, and it might say auto, change it to manual, and dial in a spot that's like low. Usually some sound levels pop up and just say check, 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 so it's not like peaking or anything, and then that usually will fix the problem.
Okay.
So try that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like a noise sound, like it's like a staticky noise.
Yeah, that weird like staticky hiss kind
Basically, here's a good thing for beginners, Sarah. Anything that you have that is auto, AUTO, turn off. Turn it on, man.
Avoid auto.
Yeah, get rid of auto. Auto focus, gone. Nope. Auto levels for audio, no. Auto iris, no. Just, you want control over as much as you can.
Manual.
Yes, there's a more checklist before you can start recording, but in the filmmaking world, I am like checklists is the, you know what I mean? Like when
it's way better quality that way.
Yeah, Jacklyn, I'm sure you must know. I mean, you used to work on the space shuttle, not in it, you didn't fly it, but I'm sure you heard that there were lots of checklists before the pilots take off, you know? So, yeah, so basically you just want to go through, am I recording, am I in focus, are my levels set, is my exposure good, and then go.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And to piggyback on that, if you are someone that records stuff on your own, how do you make sure that everything works if you can't be behind and in front of it at the same time? Do you have like special tricks for that? Because seriously, I put a minion on a stick, and that's what I currently use.
Yeah, totally. So, that is very difficult. The last tutorial I shot was all by myself at the YouTube space, and I should have done a behind-the-scenes video, but I was strapped for time. But basically, if you can get yourself an external monitor, that helps. The T3i, I believe, has a flip-out screen. It
does. It's awesome.
Those are great for bloggers and stuff because you can flip it out. Sometimes they do mirror it so you look correct on it.
Yes.
But a flip-out screen or just a monitor where you can see yourself can really help because otherwise you have to do it the hard way or the long way, which is hit record, walk into your shot, say a few lines, blah, blah, blah. Remember where you're standing. Go back, stop, hit play, watch the thing. Or in some cases, even bring it in, download it on your computer, and watch it on the big screen if the thing's too small. That just takes so much time. So you can save a lot of time with a monitor. The great thing about DSLRs and everything is most monitors and TVs we own, they have HDMI. They take HDMI in. You might need a specific cable that I actually have sitting right here, like a mini HDMI to a regular HDMI. Those can be a bit hard to find sometimes. But nowadays, even like a Dwayne Reed or like a CVS will have a mini HDMI to a HDMI. But yeah, focusing is tough. Jacklyn, you said you use a little minion on a stick. Yeah, just find where you're going to stand, get something there, and focus on it.
I used to use a mirror.
Yeah.
I put a mirror so I could see the camera in the mirror.
I did that too.
I did that for my Project for Awesome video.
Wait, how does that work, Matt? How do you tell me about that? Maybe I can start doing that. What is that?
Well, I don't know if you can. No, you can't see it from here. There's a mirror over here on the bookshelf, and my bookshelf at home, I'd sit in my chair and I just set the mirror up on top of the bookshelf because it was right by my window. So I had lighting coming in from the window, and then I would just look at the screen on the DSLR through the mirror, so I could look off to the right and focus and zoom. Zoom helps too because if you can zoom in on a point, you can really see it close up. So I'd zoom in on my face and look into the side around the camera,
so
and then
you
I
set
would
up
focus
the mirror behind the camera so that you could see the back of the camera.
The screen.
Yep.
Understood. That's clever. That's clever. I like that.
And I would just take the mirror everywhere I went. I would just put it. I'm limited.
Good little DIY hack.
But I would put it right in my bookshelf, and I would sit in my chair in front of my bookshelf.
That's smart. I like that.
Pretty easy.
And you said you had a bunch of checklists. I was going to ask you what your workflow is like when you go through. I know if there's certain things that I do better ahead of time, that it helps you a lot in editing. Like turning off your air conditioning can save you 30 minutes. But not necessarily that, but just your checklist and your workflow that kind of makes everything go a lot better.
I mean, that is kind of an in-depth question, I guess. So I want to boil it down to what can you do in production that will help post-production?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sound is always good. I mean, that's a good question. I think I would say organization is good as well. Okay, let's say I'm doing a short film and it's all shot out of order. It's nice to have some sort of organization. Like if I start rolling a clip, if I don't have a slate or something with the information on it, I'll say to the camera, I'll just be like, all right, this is going to be the beginning of the video, or put this at the end of the video, or do this. I'm always talking to myself, I'm always talking like future Steve. Steve, okay, this part here, I forgot to mention, this is exactly something that happened on my last tutorial. I was shooting something, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot something. Okay, Steve, future Steve, put this what I'm about to say back 5 minutes ago when I was talking about this. Okay, here we go. And then I know, okay, now I'm back to this thing. So I'm not always going to remember, if I didn't say that to myself, I might not have remembered where the hell that was supposed to go. So basically, just be aware that it's actually a great thing when you are editing it, because you can do things like that. You can talk to yourself. You don't feel like an idiot. But I've worked on many projects where I wasn't the editor, and it's you have to make sure that you give detailed notes about what shots go where, or there was a slight problem with the sound on this clip, or make sure you use track 1 on the audio instead of track 2, and all sorts of like production notes that you want to give to an editor. If most of them, you guys out there, are your own editors, so I would just say keep that in mind and just talk to yourself like, oh crap, cut that last part out, cut that last part out, you know. After I'm done, I will take a sip of water.
Water, refreshing.
I guess, what would you say are like, maybe this question is too general, but like, what do you think are like the biggest mistakes that beginners make that should not be made?
Oof. So many.
Okay, like name some so that I can be like, oh, I should stop doing that.
Yeah, well, you know, just the basics are the basics, like sound, focus, lighting. You know, you can hear. I'd say take the. Something I learned one time is, and I was actually, while I was still getting on my feet, I used to work at my cousin's restaurant, and just a quick aside. Things are happening. I hate restaurants now. That scarred me for life. But I was a busboy, and I was like, I needed to like put silverware on a table that needed the table, but the food was about to come out, but they didn't have their silverware yet, so I needed to go. So I'm rushing. I run over to the table, the service station, to get the silverware, and I hip it closed, like I closed it with my hip, and the drawer closed to make a big sound. You know, that sound of all like the silverware rattling and all over the place. Yeah. And the owner of the place, my cousin's business partner, the owner of the place, despite the fact that I was the cousin of the owner, pulled me aside in front of patrons and was like, stop right now, listen to me, if you do something, you're gonna do it right. And I was like, all right, yeah, okay, absolutely right, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right. And I kind of, that traumatized me to the point of like respecting him so much. So it's like, if you're gonna do a video, these things are immortal. They will live online forever. So, you know what I mean? Don't be lazy. If you notice that there was if you do a shot and you look at it and it was like a 20-minute long take and you look at it and you realize it was all out of focus, well, guess what? You're doing that over again, and it's going to be in focus this time, because if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right, you know? So just go through everything, make sure the lighting looks good, make sure you're in focus however you need to do, and, you know, just check it, and you'll know if it looks good or bad. You know, obviously there's a limit to what you can do, and don't be too hard on yourself, but, you know, I've come up a lot of times, you know, even in my stage I'm at now, where it's like, there's a light over there, and it really should be over here. But it's so heavy. Right, fine. If I'm gonna do it right. Let me go get it. Hey, can you give me a hand with this friggin' light? And then it's like, it happens a lot, but you know, and the water.
Use the equipment that you have to the best of your ability. That's really right.
Indeed.
Sorry,
like a mirror.
I have a question about basically, like, what do you have, like, a recommended, like, video editing software? I mentioned on our last hangout that I'm still using pretty much, like, iMovie, because I don't, at this point, I'm like, if I'm going to invest in, like, a video editing software, I want to make sure that it's, you know, it's the right choice. So, like, and people have recommended, like, Final Cut or, like, Premiere. I'm just wondering if you had a preference, again, for somebody who's, like, not like a professional video editing person, who there's gonna be more of a learning curve.
That's a great question. I get asked that question all the time.
Yeah.
In terms of editing, like, let's say you weren't blogging, let's say you're doing filmmaking, right? Like making a short film or something.
Yeah.
The theory of editing transcends the software. You know, there are certain editing techniques and theories and just pacing and timing and match cuts and these cuts and that cut, those cuts. So really, it becomes like the tool that you want to use. You know, if you are a good finger painter, you know, I'm just going to use my fingers. Like, it's not going to be like a Renaissance painting, but you can make a great work of art with just finger painting. You know, that would be like the iMovie. If you want to do like crazy, you know, Bob Ross stuff, you know, then you want to get like, although, you know, I love Bob Ross.
Sorry, Bob Ross.
Yeah, you didn't see that one coming. If you want to do all right, if you want to do like Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel ceiling stuff, and you need, you know, much more precise tools.
Then you need a chapel.
And a chapel.
Yeah, you need a big space.
So it's really about what do you want to get out of it. If you feel like you're doing everything you want to do with iMovie, then it's fine. Like there's no pressure. But if you feel like all of these are preset fonts, I'd love to like throw in a font that I want to use, or you know, all of these preset animations of type are like, you know, starting to get so ubiquitous that now people will know that was iMovie just because of the stock animating tests that I do.
Right.
If that sort of stuff bugs you, then yes, move on to some other program that can give you more precise control. But techniques and stuff like that don't really change. There's always good practices. It's just how precise you want to be. I'm in the same boat really. Like everyone's jumped to Premiere. I'm still using the old Final Cut Pro 7, not the new Final Cut Pro X. So if I were to update my computer, I think it would crash. You know what I mean? But that's not just. I don't want to pigeonhole myself. My business partner Cody, he is learning. He knows way more about Premiere than I do, and we just bought as a company the whole Adobe Creative Cloud suite. You know, and that's like you're paying monthly and stuff like that. But you know, so we've got the After Effects and this and that and the other thing, and it was a business expense and a decision because that's what we do. We make all sorts of stuff, you know, and we need those tools. But if you don't need it, then you know, why spend the money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know for at least Adobe stuff, you have Premiere that does manually your editing, and you have After Effects if you want to add some fancy things. If you really want to get into editing audio, there's Audition. Are there the same kind of things with like Final Cut, or I think is it Vegas or other things like that? Do they have extra things, or is that all built in?
Yeah, it's tough for me to compare different things, especially from iMovie, because I actually have never used iMovie. When I started going to film school in 2003, and I didn't do. I don't even think iMovie. Like maybe there was an iMovie, but it was like, you know, I don't even know. But yeah, so my first experience was these like programs, and so I don't know how they compare to iMovie except for like the templates and stuff. But with Final Cut, yeah, you can edit audio pretty damn good. You can throw effects on it, reverberation levels, all sorts of stuff right inside Final Cut. And from what I hear, Premiere actually isn't as good as Final Cut Pro 7 in terms of editing audio because they want you to export that out to the other specific software for audio, which kind of sucks. It's like I'd rather have it right there in Premiere. You know what I mean? Like it seems it's a little bit more limiting, which is another reason why I still edit in Final Cut. So yeah, like I said, more precise stuff is, you know, you pay for precise. I guess that's nice and alliterative.
I was using iMovie for a while, and then it was driving me bonkers.
Yeah.
So I did bite the bullet and go ahead and go with Final Cut, and I know about a teaspoon size of what it can do, and I love it so much. It just makes my life so much better. I'm still learning like the little what are they called? I'm forgetting.
Magnetic timeline.
No,
like transform your
keyframes.
Yeah.
The little keyframes, so you can like manipulate audio, and I'm amazed. It's cool.
I'm not joking when I use the paintbrush reference, because a program like Final Cut you can use for years and still learn things and still learn a new technique. I've been using Final Cut Pro literally since 2003 when I first started at film school. Like, oh my God, what is that, 12 years or something? And I still, like, within the last 6 months have like, done a new technique here and there or something. It's like, and now they're telling me I need to switch to some other program after 12 years of practice. It's like learning to paint with your right hand and then say, no, here you got to learn with your left hand now. Thanks.
Right.
And the water makes me finish.
See, I used iMovie for mainly, I just did like home video stuff. Just simply for editing and putting scenes together, which is pretty easy with iMovie. And I upgraded right to Final Cut Pro X, and that doesn't have the channels that you can do with the audio, or you can put multiple audio layers, but it doesn't really have video. So what I have to do is put like a single custom just plain black custom in the middle, and then I can put audio and video on top and overlay
That's
them.
what I've heard.
It's not as nice as having all those channels you can put audio and video on.
Yeah, you know, from what I've heard, I haven't used Final Cut Pro X yet, but from what I've heard, it's not as precise as like Premiere or Final Cut Pro 7. They sort of made a Final Cut Pro X somewhere in between iMovie and Final Cut Pro 7. It's like
it feels more like iMovie. It doesn't feel as detail oriented as Final Cut Pro 7 is, because I know with Final Cut Pro 7 you get like all the little filed names and everything, and in Final Cut Pro X it's very like, here are the file names, but we're just going to show you what the scene is. Here's a bunch of pictures of what you're looking at instead of just a file name. Because I remember using it in community college a little bit, Final Cut Pro 7, and it was nice. And then going to Final Cut Pro and being like, this feels more like iMovie.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole Google Hangout on the subtle nuances between all the programs.
That's
you know,
true.
You could.
And Tim,
that would also be fascinating.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Tim uses Sony Vegas too. That's another one if you're looking into stuff. Steve or Sarah, do you have, or Matt, when you were looking up for Final Cut, did you have tutorials that you looked at? Or I guess when you started in 03, YouTube wasn't around. But are there places or resources that you guys would recommend to people?
Are you asking me, or I'm sorry?
Any of you guys that have tried these new softwares?
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot when I was in school because we did little projects on them. But just go to YouTube. I looked up like Hank's video with Final Cut Pro 7, where he sits down and he edits an entire video out and shows you how he does it.
Yep.
Just go right to YouTube because it's all on there. I've watched a lot of tutorials on things, and like I said, I'm still learning stuff about Final Cut Pro X too. I barely even know anything about it, getting it a couple years ago.
The whole reason my channel started, and the whole reason why I have 45,000 subscribers now, that's crazy, is because I was trying to figure something out in Final Cut Pro 7 in 2007, and I finally figured it out after like an hour and a half of reading so many different things, and I was like, this has to go on YouTube because someone else somewhere is going to have this problem, and I want to save them time because I wish someone had saved me that time. And if you go on my YouTube channel and find that video, it's still there. I have hair. That's how. So yeah.
But yeah, the first chunk of videos on your channel are all pretty much editing stuff, right? And now it's more lighting and cameras and things like that.
Yeah, the same thing. I had discovered a new technique. I mean, this was maybe 6 years into using Final Cut. Someone finally sat me down and taught me how to do a multi-clip, which is awesome if you don't know what it is. But it's outdated now because no one uses Final Cut Pro 7 anymore. But when I found out how to do it, I kind of refined it and just made it easier to understand and just like the right practice to do. And I put that up, and that got a great amount. That was one of my first videos that got like a lot of views, and I was like, wow. But then that's what happened is Final Cut Pro X was on the horizon, and I was like, well, this is changing everything. Let me change my gears and let me now do more basic things, because I was noticing at the time, this was 2008, 2009, 2010, I was noticing YouTube getting really, really popular, and you know, this is a source of everyone is a filmmaker now. If you own a cell phone and record video, you are a filmmaker. Think about like 15 years ago when that was, or before video was on cell phones. I mean, just not even like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Like, it was a specialized thing. You had to buy a camera. You had to, you know, you have a VHS-C tape or a high 8mm. Now everyone, and it's like I have all these. I have all of these VHS tapes sitting over there in the corner right now of when I was like 6 years old. Not 6. When I was like 8 years old with my camcorder, filming my brother making stupid like movies.
Like this thing?
Like those things. And I have a VCR right here under a bunch of stuff. But like when I was 8, there was no place to put that. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. When I was 8 years old, there was no place to put that stuff. No one was going to see it. It was only for me. And now, imagine a 10-year-old, 11-year-old now with an iPhone.
Yeah.
Becoming famous, becoming a Vine famous or something. Like, that's just
a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really or it's really weird sometimes, like when I talk to people like in not my online life. Like while like most people are aware of YouTube, some people like I don't tell everybody that I have a YouTube channel, but if it comes up, like so often people be like, oh my god, that's so cool, like that's awesome. But like people say it in a way of like as in they can't even conceive of doing that, and then like especially actually like I remember at the airport after VidCon, I was just like talking to a security guard, and he was like, so like you went to VidCon, like did you go see YouTubers, or are you a YouTuber? I'm like, oh, like I'm kind of a YouTuber. He was like, oh wow, that's awesome. I'm like, you can also be a YouTuber. You have a channel? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, anybody can just upload videos. And he was just like, oh really? I'm like, how do you not know this?
Maybe they just like separate themselves and they don't see it as like something that's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's crazy. I mean, now we're getting on the psychology of YouTube.
Yeah.
My fault.
You can tell that security guard that it's called YouTube.
You. It's a tube of you.
Them, the tube.
It's not us tube.
Yeah.
That's a completely different site. Don't go there. It's not safe.
That's a completely different conversation.
So, do you guys have more questions about like cameras or lighting or things like that?
Ooh, I actually, thinking about lighting, do you have a preference between like umbrella lights, softbox lights, natural light, all of that stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Like for somebody who's shooting in their studio apartment, and
Yeah, I mean,
don't have like a huge studio.
definitely. Now I'm going into like artsy, like cinematographer mode, but definitely soft light is good. What does soft light mean? I guess like an umbrella, a soft box, just like I have white walls. You can't see because I set up this curtain behind me so that you can't see how messy my room is. But I do have white walls, so even just like a bright light shining into the wall and bouncing off the white light,
Bounce it.
Right.
that's a little bit nicer.
I just have that. I mean, that's me.
That works.
That's
that
all
works
I have.
Yeah, I have 2 of those umbrellas.
You could even take that umbrella instead of pointing the umbrella at you like this way, like at you, you can even fling the whole thing around and have it shoot like into the umbrella this way, and have the I wish I had like a little cocktail umbrella to explain this.
but turn that umbrella around.
So it's pointing away from you.
What's weird though?
You could even
if I turn that around, it's actually brighter.
Like have the back of the umbrella facing you.
Yeah. So
right.
You can mess around. Like you put it up one way, and you look at it, and it's like, oh, it's too dim. Let me see what happens if I turn it around. It's still soft because instead of going through the umbrella, it's now bouncing off the umbrella. So it might, you play around. It's always an experimentation. I've been on shoot with Maker or with my production company where I rented a couple of different lights. The director tells me, what he's going for, or she is going for. And I'm never afraid to be like, okay, let me experiment. Let me see how this looks. Let me see what this looks like. I'm not the kind of person to walk in and be like, I know, do what I say. Because also when you experiment, you also can discover like things that actually look really good. And it's like, if I just give up my notion to try and get to this, thing that I think was going to be good, and just let it happen, those can be like really awesome, like happy mistakes. Basically, I'm a happy mistake factory.
That's a Bob Ross thing. We have happy accidents.
Exactly, Bob Ross. Second
It
reference.
all comes back to Bob Ross.
It all comes back to the happy little bush.
Happy little trees.
But yeah, soft light is good. Did you have like a second part to your question?
No, just it was just like natural light, soft light, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in terms
as you're talking, I have a thought, but.
Oh yeah, no. In terms of, you all seem to be like blogging type people-ish stuff. So, there's also light angle. So like, I have this light on here. I can like, I set up lights. So if I have like a light Watch this, guys. Check this out.
Oh, here
So
we
I have
go.
this. I have a LED that I have clamped to my computer
Ooh,
screen.
I've seen
nice.
that.
So
Oh,
if I,
nice.
you know, I mean, if I have the light, and I gotta shut off my TV here. So if I have the light here,
Mhm.
you know, not very good for blogging. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
good for like
For
a
like an
murder
effect of
mystery.
something. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you know what I mean?
dramatic. Yeah.
Great for a murder mystery, but not so good for you
Played
know.
it from underneath.
You know what I mean? Yeah, right. Or like, yeah, I mean, we're doing horror movies. I'm so scared right now. Now, if you have two lights, you can have one here and one here. But like, why not just right on the not covering the camera, but you know, right in front of you. That's called flat light, and you know, it has a negative connotation. It's a flat light, but it's the best for just.
Mhm.
I heard a DP tell me a good bit of advice, and I guess it can go for blogging as well. Basically, like, you know, if the story or if whatever you're doing calls for just try to be clear in your visual storytelling. Like if it's like the man the man places an apple down on the desk, you know. You have maybe first it's a wide shot of a man at a desk with something in his hand. The man is at a desk. Then he places it down. So what just makes sense coming out? Well, we want to see what the object was in his hand. So now close up on the apple as it comes onto the desk. Just it doesn't need to be complicated. You know what I mean? Like the man puts an apple on the desk. Show the apple on the desk. Close up. Boom. I'm in a room. I want to talk about nannies. Here, just can you see me? Can you see my face? Am I in focus? Then we're good. You know what I mean? Then it's all that's needs to be done. If you're talking about like a baby crying or something, like you wouldn't have a baby 20 feet away, laughing. You know what I mean? You get in there and punch it in the face and get it to cry already.
If you were to read a book, right, about, and there's a scene of the baby crying in the book, you don't draw an image of a baby 20 feet away crying in a book because it's like
that's what storyboarding is about too.
Storyboarding. Yeah,
you're talking about storyboards too. Yeah, so it's pretty self-explanatory. You know what I mean? And the beauty comes out of it. Like a lot of people, I'm talking more like short film and like artsy stuff now. Just get it so it's clear, but then the beauty comes out later once, that's like a byproduct, I've shot things where it's like, oh wow, you really captured the this, that, and the blah, 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 and it's just like, I was just trying to make sure you knew it was a cat. That's really all I was going for.
Yeah. As long as all the elements are kind of stringed together, like if it's like a dark, moody video and you want to do like a deep lecture or talk, you can like light some candles and do some lighting from beneath, Or if you want to like I mess around sometimes on live streams and I go like Michael Bay lens flare, like if you want or you want to come down here.
I love lens flare.
Murder mystery.
Yes.
Whatever.
So if you,
that's fun to do.
I was just gonna say, if you have to reshoot stuff at some point, how do you make sure it's kind of consistent?
Ooh, that's a damn good question. Just give me an example.
Well, I actually, sorry.
Do you have to go or something?
No, sorry. No, I was just saying, like, on that question, like, I do have to go in, like, 10 minutes. But but on that question, I actually had an issue where I filmed, like, myself talking, and then later I realized, like, there was one part that was out of focus, and then I had to go back, but it was, like, a different time of day, when I decided to reshoot, and then I had to be like, oh, what was I wearing the other day? Oh, do I have to put makeup on the same way? Like, I mean, I guess if you don't put makeup on, then that's not as much of a problem. It's like, how do I do my hair? So it's just like, did I have this in the background when I shot it? So it's like, I mean, I had to like go back and watch that film, that clip from before, and it took me like an hour to just make it the same as it was the last time.
Yeah, this is a great topic. So, on a production, like a film shoot, depending on the level of what you're doing, there is a person or persons whose job it is to be up on continuity. You know what I mean? Like they usually have a camera and they're taking photos of everything, taking photos of the set, making sure all the props are in the right place where they need to be. You know, on a movie shoot. I don't know if anyone's from or lives out or been to LA, but they have whole like thrift stores out there of like sort of donated garments from movies, and like you'll see like 30 of the same shirt, and because these you know, clothes makers make 30 of the same shirt, because if one gets ripped by accident or if one goes, you know, gets dirty or something, then they have another copy of the shirt for the next day when they're shooting the same scene. So you can really go, you know, you can really go crazy with that kind of stuff, but it's also like very hard to be exactly, on our level, it's very hard to be very like to fool people into thinking that, you know, it was all the same, because there's always some small element that you're going to miss that someone might notice. So I'd say prepare as best you can and get everything when you're shooting it. You know what I mean? Like really try hard to get everything and not forget anything, so preparation comes in handy. If you know that you're going to have to stop and pick it up another time, take pictures, take notes. You know, take pictures of your makeup, take pictures of the clothes you're wearing, wide shots, close-ups, take pictures of the set from all angles you can think of, just so you know you're going to reset it the next day. Or if you don't have that luxury, if you haven't prepared, consider changing something. Consider saying, you know, like because it's YouTube, you know, people are more forgiving. Like you could be like, I've seen even on like mental floss videos, like at the end of the video, and be like, "Hey, it's Hank from the future, not Hank. It's John Green from the future. We forgot this little bit. I'm not shaved. I'm sorry." You know, you can do a little prerequisite, and it's like, we forgot this part. So it's like, why not be honest and just, you know, you just be like, "Hey guys, I forgot something from before. I know look at me, I'm in different clothes. You know, it's in the future." Just be, you know, it's depending on what you're doing. If you're doing a short film, that's not possible. But you know, in the YouTube space and with your relationship, like people love authenticity, and it's like they understand. You know, they understand where
stuff happens.
Forgot something. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like being on stage when you're doing stand-up, being like, "Hey guys, I'm really nervous right now because I'm on stage in front of thousands of people." They like that.
We're with you, man. It's all good.
Yeah, they like that authenticity.
Yeah, the audience roots for you. Yeah.
So we have a question from the comment feed.
We do.
Oh snap!
Sorry.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the chat if you.
Okay. Oh yeah. So someone says, I'm anxious about, I'm assuming that says data transfer, so I have a ton of video and sound file SD cards for fear of closing my laptop down.
I'm very anxious about data transfer, so I have tons of video and sound files, SD cards, for fear of closing my laptop down. There's a bit of a translation gap here.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Can anyone maybe interpret that to?
Like
I'm
maybe
wondering-
they just are like hoarding like videos and things and are nervous about deleting them off of the physical computer.
Maybe how you store
I
it.
might
like
have a.
How do you store your data and your video footage?
So
That's
if
a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
So there's the expensive way, and there's the way I do it. So the expensive way, and what like a professional sort of production house will do, is they'll invest in these RAID systems. R-A-I-D. It stands for don't tell me. It stands for a redundant something array of disks. A redundant independent array of disks. So basically what a RAID is a bunch of hard drives that you can do different things with them. There's different ways to set them up. But sort of the easiest one is you have like 3 hard drives, right? And they look on your computer like they're one hard drive. Only one hard drive pops up, like my hard drive. But in actuality, there's 3 disks in the RAID. It acts as one. When you drop a file into the hard drive, it is copying that to 3 disks, copies to them. But from your point of view on your computer, it only looks as one hard drive. There are some things where if, like, let's say one hard drive explodes for some reason, you put in another one, and it's like repair the RAID. It'll basically match that blank one to the other 2 ones, and now you have a new copy. So basically, you're always having redundant data. That's the expensive way. There's also
backup.
there's also, just to touch on it a little bit, there's also another way to RAID things called striping, where instead of copying everything from one to another as a mirror, it will put packets of the same data on all three, sort of using all three hard disks to make one like super drive. So whereas if you're, this is great for editing video, but it's not good for backup and redundancy, because you have three drives going and it's all going at the same time. You're getting much faster things. Now this is for such a situation where you're like editing all the time and you're a production house and you have like 5 million projects at the same time. Yeah. For people like us, it's more like just backup. Now what I do is I have a, I'm going to show you, so hang on. Let me eject what I got here. Check this. I'm probably going to... So what I have is, yes, I will show you. I'm going to unplug this and hopefully not get killed here. Okay, so I have this cool dock. So now this particular model is FireWire because I don't have Thunderbolt on my iMac at the moment. By the way, my iMac is like juiced up with as much memory as I can get. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM in it because I'm doing so much video stuff. So that I know my business partner Cody was editing on his iMac at home and he only had 2 gigabytes. It took him, when he downloaded the Adobe Creative Suite, it took him 15 minutes to open Photoshop.
Ouch.
So I was like, you need to update your RAM, brother. So I have these docks. So basically it's it can take your small hard drives, which I might have one somewhere. It's too hard to find. Or it can take your internal hard drives. Now these are cheaper than buying. These are cheaper than buying the you know, the hard drives that come like in the case with the cables. You just get there.
Yeah.
So I have this. I have 2 of these actually. I'm not going to take the other one out. So I have 2 of these and I have them linked. So I just buy internal drives. I buy 2 of them, and they're like $80 a pop for 2 terabytes. These docks can take up to 3 terabyte drives. But they have one now that can take up to 4 terabytes. So I buy 2 drives. I call them hard drive. I'm up to hard drive 11. So I'm on hard drive 10, hard drive 11, and the other one is called hard drive 11 backup. And they just dock in here. They mount via FireWire. I have them daisy chained. And whenever I shoot a project, I download the footage onto my drive. And yes, it takes longer, but then after it's done downloading, I copy it onto the other drive. So I have another backup of it. You know, when you're shooting weddings, when you're shooting short films where people are paying you, you know, stuff, it's like you cannot afford to lose footage that you just spent, you know, $5,000 on rentals and actors and, you know, craft services and stuff. So if you lose the that's like your film, it's your gold, it's your product. So you need to at least for me, you need to have it backed up in double or triplicate. So that's what I do.
So
I hope that answers the question.
I use Backblaze for everything.
I don't know what that is.
I know where you got Backblaze.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly where I got the idea for Backblaze. So the short story is CGP Grey scared the crap out of me and made me get Backblaze about a year ago. But so anyway, it's this like it's a service where you sign up. It's $5 a month, but basically it backs up all of your data from your computer and all of your external hard drives to their cloud server. So then. So then, like, basically, if my computer crashed, I just log on to Backblaze and say, like, recover. I can say as much as recover 1 file or up to my entire computer. Yeah, basically, like, again, I feel like maybe if you're like a professional company, you still need something else. But as a person, like, or just somebody who does this as a hobby, like, that's pretty much all I need. So it's just like I still store all of my video footage on an external hard drive, but I just have that plugged in, and constantly Backblaze will automatically check whenever there's changes or there's a new file, and it will just make a copy of it on like their cloud server. So yeah, and I just feel like for $5 a month, that's kind of worth it. So yeah.
Cool. I got kicked for a second there. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
But I got the gist of what you were saying. So
Yeah.
sorry.
It's
I don't know what happened.
It's basically like what you do, except it's like an online service, and like you don't have to buy your own external hard drives. Somebody copies it for you. The thing I actually like about that is sometimes if I'm like at my parents' house and I don't have access to my computer, I can actually say, hey, like recover that one file from my computer, because I need it right now. So this way I don't have to like upload things to Dropbox all the time if I if I don't remember that I needed a file for a weekend, I can just like log on and recover that one file that I need.
That's awesome. What's the storage capacity on that?
Unlimited.
Wow.
That's why I was like, done. So.
I will look into that. That sounds pretty cool.
That's also great because if God forbid, if your house burns down or something and you copies of everything, like you have it somewhere else. Yeah. Sorry, I just gave us all like nervous help.
No, but
Not the laptop.
But it's true.
No, really. What do you grab out of the burning house? My laptop.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But no, it's like it happens. Like my heart. I had an external hard drive. It's only 500 gigs, but I've had it since high school, and it's like huge brick, like really heavy. And that has been sort of my archive drive for all the things that I don't need anymore, but I still want to keep, like old stuff from school and whatever. But of course, like it was like 12 years old, and about 6 months ago, the hard drive itself just completely died.
Yeah.
And so like I had absolutely no secondary copy of all of those things, and while like it's not a problem because it's like my old high school stuff, it's still like, oh well, that's just gone forever. So
it sucks. A couple of maybe like 3 years ago, I had all of my hard drives from college and stuff. The first one I got, my first FireWire drive was a 200 gigabyte drive.
yeah.
And I had like 4 of those, and I had like 320 gigs. I had like one 500 gig, which was like huge.
Yeah.
And then when I got these docks, it was like, okay, now I can have 2-3 terabyte drives. I can fit all of the stuff on all my old drives on like half of that.
Yeah.
So I bought the 2-3 terabyte drives. I just put like archival drive 1, archival drive 2. I just spent the night just transferring everything, and then I took all those old drives and I like recycled them at Best Buy. So and it's like, and the next generation of storage is going to come out, and I'm going to transfer it to I'm going to keep up on the thing. And who knows what the next thing is? Like a solid state drive, is probably the next thing. I've heard things about solid state drives. Like the more you use a solid state drive, the more it will get corrupt. So it's probably like if you take a solid state drive and you like use it, then format it, then use it, then format it, then use it and format it, then format it. Eventually, there's no getting around the corruption errors. Whereas with the spinning disks, that's a little bit easier. So I say that's better for storage. Just like take your storage stuff, put it on the solid state drive one time, and you're good. There's no moving parts.
Yeah.
That's the best part about the solid states. There's no moving parts, but you just have to think of it more of an archival thing rather than I'm using it to edit all my stuff. Things are coming in and out and stuff like that. Also, for me with data storage, I don't know if you guys are doing this, but for what I do, I convert all of my footage from what the camera shoots to another format.
Oh.
I don't know if that's like what you guys do, but like for like Final Cut, basically because Final Cut's old, it doesn't like the codec that the cameras shoot in, so I convert everything. And of course, what I'm converting it to, if I shot a 100 megabyte file in the camera, after I convert it, it's now a 300 megabyte file, so everything inflates. Yeah. So basically, when I'm done doing my project, I have to make sure I'm done. Then I go back and I delete all converted footage, and now I've got like 3/4 of my disk back. Yeah. So, but that's just part of like being, that's just part of doing what I do. It's pain, but
something
comes with the territory.
Something I learned today with the Adobe suite, there's a part that's called Prelude. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's an ingest software. So you take the files off of your disk or your camera, and you can tell it to rename all your clips to whatever you want. And you can also say, I want these to go to these 2 or 3 drives, or this place on my computer and this place on my drive. So when you ingest it, it gets renamed. You can add metadata to it. You can add tags to it, and you can tell it to go to separate places all at once. And oddly, you can even go through and say kind of your ins and outs for clips. And you can make sub-clips like just through there with your names, and then you transfer it over to Premiere. I just learned that today. So I don't know if like Final Cut or anything else has like an ingest feature where you can kind of...
With the X it does. But,
okay.
Yeah, that's combating a thing that X does. I won't get into it, but yeah, that sounds really cool, and that's definitely something for me to look into too when I'm now using the suite. I don't know exactly how I'd utilize that, but I'm sure there's going to be some awesome practices for that kind of program.
I'm sorry, I do have to go, but thank you so much, Steve, and thank you everyone else. And I will watch the rest of this after.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not done, are we? Let's keep going.
Yeah, you guys I just have to take off.
Okay. Great having you. Thank you.
Bye, Betty.
Bye.
And if you guys think of questions later, Steve does have a channel. He does a lot of Ask Steve videos, and you have a Twitter now too, right?
Yes, I have a Twitter now. I should probably make my lower third my Twitter thing.
So you guys can ask Steve questions later too, if you think of more.
Absolutely. I lost my lower third.
And he has a lot of videos, like I've said, on like 3-point lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of basic stuff, and I'm always looking for more suggestions for like a tutorial to do for beginners or even more advanced stuff. So if you guys at me at Twitter or whatever, let me know suggestions for tutorials. I know I want to do a focus tutorial. That one's been one that I've been wanting to do for such a long time. Just like tips and tricks on how to get good focus. What we mentioned before, having an external monitor will be in there. Having a minion on a stick will be in there. Things like that, and also like pulling focus for more like camera operators who want to, someone who's like, oh no, I just got hired to do a camera operating job, and I just want to like, I've never done that before or something, just stuff like that. A green screen lighting tutorial would be cool. But yeah, if there's anything else that anyone could suggest to me, that'd be awesome. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the things I think I like about your videos is you usually tell not just how it works, but the mistakes you've made. Or tricks, like you're like, oh, make sure you turn on the battery for this, or just little things like that you're like, oh yeah, I should definitely make sure I do that. Like your little checklists.
Everything that I tell people comes from me screwing up on that thing. I've shot. So it's like I am a crucible. I am the result of being through a crucible of mistakes. Definitely.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, we can get pissed.
Make mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mistakes lead to eurekas.
It's true.
I had a choir director once. I have a theater background. I have a degree in theater, and I had a choir director once who said, if you make a mistake, make it big. So if you're going to sing a wrong note, then just sing the crap out of that wrong note.
That is great. That's a great thing. I don't know how that works too much in film.
In video performance.
Because if it's like, if I'm going to be out of focus, I'm going to be really out of focus.
I'm committing to this. Maybe if you're like in the middle of shooting and you make a mistake, like some people when they're trying to speak, they stumble and they make a mistake and they just go rah, and then they like cut to the right thing. You can sometimes
little bloopers reel at the end.
Yeah.
Bloopers at the end of your video. Some people like.
But Chelsea, what you say is a good topic to come up on too, which is good practices for actually speaking on camera. That's a great topic. We're talking about very technical things right now, and just like lighting and sound and stuff like that. Like my lighting is like very bright. I can't seem to figure out why it's doing that. I think it's because the background's black. But yeah, see, if I put this up here, I'm good. But whatever. That's why I wore a science shirt, but it didn't want to do whatever. What I'm saying is, if you're gonna ramble hard. No, if you know what I mean. Like that's another good thing too. Like a lot of people when they first start doing YouTube and they get in front of the camera, they kind of just talk a little like, so hi, my name's Steve. And like they're standing in front of a conference or something, you know what I mean? Like they're visiting their doctor. Like I have a pain in the back of my neck, and but that's like Veritasium. I don't know if you guys know Veritasium.
Oh yeah.
the Veritasium 2, I believe, has a great video about you know, talking on camera, and I forget what the saying is, but it's basically like, oh, he has such a great saying. I forget what it is, but it's basically like, do whatever you're gonna do, but like times 2. You know what I mean? Like, be more animated, be more loud, be more, just be more, just exaggerate everything. You know?
Yeah, I've
well,
been.
that's the funny thing. Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that's the funny thing about coming from a theater background, because I've done theater like my entire life, but I haven't done a lot of camera work. So when I decided to do YouTube and do the camera, I'm still trying to find like a rhythm of kind of performance-y authenticity being in front of the camera, because it's a very different thing being on stage and performing than it is just like being in a room with my camera. And how do you be engaging an audience when you don't have that audience literally in front of you?
Yeah, it's like edutainment. You got to entertain and you have to educate at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
See, I come from a background where I've done a lot of public speaking, and I've done singing. Like I've done jazz choir, I've done chorale. I didn't do like more performing in terms of shows and musical. My brother did a lot of that, but it is interesting. I tell people all the time that when you're speaking to a large audience, it's no different than speaking to a group of 4 people. But really, when there's no audience there, you just have to sort of imagine the audience there, just as if you could see them. And that's sort of what I do when I look at the camera. I'm like, wow, there's a group of 400 people sitting in an audience looking at me when I'm speaking. But I have sort of that experience because in the past I've done public speaking, so I know what that sort of feels like. It's just fun.
I think for me it's like hard to not have that energy feedback.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say,
like I'm used to the energy feedback, but I don't get that on camera. You know.
There is something ineffable about an audience. You know, there is some sort of almost physical connection, to an audience, and that can be, especially for a theater person, tough to connect in a similar way to a crowd. But the great thing that I'd like to remind to theater people and even public speakers is that with video on YouTube, you can edit.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's okay to ramble. It's okay to, like you said, if you're going to sing a wrong note, go for it. But it's also like, okay, wait, let me go back. Let me sing that right note now. You know what I mean? And commit just as hard to that. And it's okay to make a mistake. I think a lot of people, when they're in front of a crowd or whatever, they don't want to make a mistake, and that can be scary, and that could inhibit you, especially if you're not a theater person. You learn to overcome that. But I think like it's like a new thing. It's like, okay, you probably feel like you probably feel more comfortable in front of an audience making a mistake than you are in front of the camera making mistakes.
Oh yeah, I totally do. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're editing it, so it's like, don't, you know what I mean? Like that. The thought of knowing that you can just edit it, and now back when I was in college, the idea of jump cutting was very against what you would do, because there was no YouTube then. You know, if you were going to do an interview with someone, you had to make sure you film enough B-roll. You know, do you know what B-roll is?
Yep.
Yeah. It's the stuff that doesn't have a person talking in it. You know, and so you had to make sure you filmed enough solid stuff that when you were cutting up that interview, if you needed to edit that audio because he said a curse word or something, you know, you could like cut away to like, you know, the bowling alley where they're bowling, and then, you know, to come back when he's talking about the good strike he had, you know. So, but nowadays with the YouTube and stuff and like all this, even when I got the job at Maker, even just like, what was it, 3 years ago, almost, 3 years ago, coming up on 4. When I first started editing online stuff, it was like, Steve, too slow. It's too slow. And I was like, oh my god, it was so crazy. And then like my boss sat me down on the first job, super cool guy, Brian. He sat me down. He's like, here, let me show you like what we're going for here. And it was like jump cut, jump. I'm like, oh, whoa, no B-roll. Oh god. Now I'm just like chop. I'll get rid of ums. Like I'll go like. I'm here today to talk to you about a thing. Nope. Now it's I'm here today to talk to you about a thing. You know what I mean? Like get rid of the pauses, get rid of the ums, get rid of any dead space, unless you want some good dead space like this.
Right.
Yeah, I try to keep things as authentic as possible, but I do find myself saying so and then like
Oh, me
sometimes
too.
and
Dude, when
I
I'm
cut it all
talking,
out. And
I don't know what I'm doing until I get
yeah.
it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, come on.
The one
Stop.
interesting thing I'm thinking about between performance and doing online video is when you make a mistake and you're performing live, if you use that nervous energy to build the audience and laugh off of it, it's gone. But when you make a mistake on camera, you have to watch yourself make the mistake later on.
Sometimes
video.
over and over and over again.
Yeah, so that's why when you finish a video and someone's like, "This is amazing," and you watch it yourself, you're like, "I'm so sick of this. Just watch it. How could it be amazing? I've watched this thing 50 times." So that's the thing.
Well, that's the thing too, and you see like your lip twitches that happen all the time, or your eye does a weird thing, or you
yeah, my eyebrows have a mind of their own, apparently.
And sometimes people are amazed that I can do. If I continuously talk at an even pace, I can do like a 2 to 3 minute one take, and they're like, "How do you do that without messing up?" And that might just be from my experience of public speaking, but it might just be the way that I take the words and flow them together instead of making pauses all the time and then hop onto it. Because I know some people speak just different at different paces. Because you see, like Hank Green does 6 or 7 takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to talk to Michael Stevens and ask him, like, so how much memorizing do you do? Like, do you write down a sentence and you memorize it quickly, or are you like practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing before you roll? Because he is looking dead center of the lens and saying, I don't know, 2 minutes of dialogue that is like eloquently written. That is a skill. That is
or he's a really good teleprompter.
No, there's no teleprompter. There's no teleprompter with Michael Stevens. You can see with John Green, Hank Green, they're definitely reading from a teleprompter because you see the eyes. You know what I mean? You see the eyes. You know. Yeah. But Michael Stevens will do a shot where he's literally this close up, looking dead into the lens, no eye movement whatsoever. There's no teleprompter there at all. He's all memorization. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And he doesn't speak like, I don't know, like does CGP Grey speak faster than Michael does? I mean,
but see, he types and records everything and edits it to a TV second.
Which brings me to another point about some CGP Grey says and what you're saying about editing. It's actually sometimes harder. He likes to do podcasts because he feels like it's more loose and whatever, but when you're making a video, you have to have like a nice script, and like we talked before, Sarah was saying every word is gold and it all matters, and you're saying like edit and be perfect. So sometimes it actually makes it a little bit more difficult because you go through and you're like, I could retake this again, or I could spend another 2 months on this one video. So sometimes it's the reverse.
Right, like at what point do you stop and be like, this is the thing?
Yeah.
This is good enough.
Yeah, you know, like I said before, if you're gonna do it right. But it's a fine line because like there's a point at which like if you put so much pressure on yourself, you're never gonna finish. You know what I mean? Like there's always gonna be that one flaw that you see that hopefully only like 1% of the people is gonna see that flaw. Like maybe most of them won't notice the little thing that happened, or the
twitch or the whatever that
it's like a musical performance when you see a professional will see a mishap in a musical performance and the rest of the audience will be like, what are you talking about?
I have a perfect example of like maybe 2008 when YouTube was really getting big and viral videos were being like a thing, or 2009. I took a viral video course. It was like a 3-day course. Yeah, we broke into teams and we tried to like understand like what made things viral, and you know, we made a video. It's actually up on my YouTube. It's called How to Date an Asian Woman, and it is quite racist. But we made it with Asian women, and it was approved by the Asian women, and it was cool. We got the racist thing. It was cool. Didn't get a lot of views. Didn't go viral. But when also the teacher, the proctor, is a guy named James Murray, who is also now famous because he is in a show called Impractical Jokers. He's one of like the main guys. I see his face on a bus every now and again, and he taught this viral video class. And he showed this one video that he made where it was like a sketch comedy. It was a thing where he was like some like Doctor Who type character that like basically had a time machine, and you would go on a date, and so if you screw up, they would go back in time, tell you what you did wrong, and then you know, give you the right thing to say. And in the video, he's there in like his outfit, and he's like, what we do is we're gonna go back to before you made the mistake. And then after the video, he was like, there's one thing in that video that I hate. There's this one big flaw that like I can't believe nobody ever notices. And we're like, what? We didn't see it. And he's like, well, when I do this and I go before, I should have gone this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this way is ahead from your point of view, and this way is before from your point of view. So and no one in the class gave a crap about that. I didn't think about that at all. It was like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, maybe that would have made it like 100%. Like if you're a completionist, yes, maybe.
Past, future.
Yeah, but come on, dude. Come on. It's fine, you know. So don't put that pressure on yourself, you know, is the moral to that story. I ran out of water, so I don't have that nice button.
And I think like the amount you edit really depends on the type of content you're making too. Because if it's really educational and you got to know your facts, and we talked a lot about this at VidCon with knowing what you're saying, make sure it's right, versus somebody just shouting off opinions or making some sort of thought blog like I tend to do. That's different type of content, and that's what allows me to loosely edit things together and take sentences and then little jump cut and then another sentence stringed out for 3 minutes instead of a 10-minute educational piece of content.
On my DSLR basic settings tutorial, which you should all watch right now.
Okay.
Bye guys. In that tutorial, I started to talk about shutter speed and like what a shutter is, and to the best of my knowledge at the time. And then after I made the video, I went back and actually like researched how shutters work. I couldn't have been more wrong. I had the mechanism so wrong that I was like, well, that's not going in. And so, yeah, I was like, well, I should really have it. It's how the shutter works. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go back and film it again because like what Becky was saying before, or Betty was saying before, I would have had to get the lighting exactly the same with the same shirt, the same lighting, blah, 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 just to get a, like, just cut it. It's fine. You know what I mean? And, like, I could even annotate to the video that I watched that totally schooled me. I should do that. I haven't done that, but I should. But, yeah, so, and also, like, there are times where I'm filming and I know I didn't do the research on a certain thing. I'll just be honest and be like, guys, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that's what you call this thing. If there's anyone out there who knows what the actual name is, please let me know and I'll credit you. Thank you. And it's like, you know, once again, it comes back to just being authentic. And it's like, I didn't. Okay, that's the one thing I forgot to look up. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And I think, at least for me, I have to remind myself that I am starting out, and every video gets better. Like, if you look at my first video compared to now, my first video was on iMovie, recorded with I don't know what. The audio recording was, like, way in the back corner of the room compared to now where I actually even know how to put words on, and I don't know, just that's one thing I try to remember. Every video, I learned at least one new thing.
Yeah.
That's really the goal.
Because you can only learn one thing at a time. Right?
Well, like I was saying before, I am a product of all the mistakes I've made. You know what I mean? So, yeah, every time you're gonna, maybe it won't be a mistake technically, but you can go and look at it afterwards and be like, here's something where I can definitely improve upon. Here's something I can definitely improve on, and you just add it to the checklist. And after a while, it's like you've got this whole checklist down, and it's second nature because you've already screwed up so many times. Not screwed up, but like you just forgot it or didn't think about it. Just like came to the realization that this way would be a little. You evolve.
And you progress. Yeah.
What else, man? What else?
Well, do you guys go ahead if you have questions?
You have a video on I saw your film how to record high quality audio on a budget, because I know they have software and they have types of audio devices. Like I could set it on top of the DSLR when I shoot, and then it has that loop audio field that you can speak into, and I know you can sync the audio with the video. I think it's like the H4 zoom or the I don't know which one it is, but
is it this one? Hang on.
No, what do you like?
Well, I've been recording my audio just so I have it. But is this guy?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know which model that is, but that's the idea.
The brand is Zoom, and the model is H4n.
H4n. Yep. So I was looking at that. I know that's one of the really higher end ones. I don't know if
actually, it's quite low end actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. There are way more advanced things than that guy.
Because I know it has. You can get like a hot shoe mount for it for the top of the camera, and you can just set it right on top like this, and then you can plug it right into the to the audio for the camera. So that's I don't have any external audio stuff. I just shoot with the mic that's built into the DSLR.
That's fine, you know.
Works pretty well.
I would say, like I said earlier, I don't know if you were on the Hangout yet, but turn the levels to manual and set it. You know, there is no headphone jack on it. Is that a T3i, T4?
No, this is a T5 actually.
T5. Is there a headphone jack on there?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, there is. There's the mic.
I have two.
There's the mic, and then
and then there's a headphone
above it, which I think is
Beautiful.
the headphone. The headphone jack, yeah.
If there is a headphone, then you can totally stick the headphones in, put it on the manual, get your mirror set up,
Yeah.
and you know, just go check. You know, talk to the loudest you're gonna be, like, hey guys, what's up? Blah blah blah. Here's my tone. Blah blah blah. And then you set it so that it's like not in the red. You just set it so it's like somewhere nice, and because that'll get rid of the hiss, like we were saying before. Because when it goes silent, it tends to bring up the no noise that's there, so it just makes it all of this hissy sound.
Manual stuff.
Yeah. And
Oh
You
man,
gotta just not be afraid to jump. It's like jumping into a swimming pool. You just gotta jump in. And
Try some stuff. Yeah.
Try it out.
Well, that's the thing I think too that personally I found really makes me nervous about just jumping in, because there's so many YouTubers that I watch and admire that have, like, you know, like Mental Floss and Vlogbrothers and Veritasium and all that have beautiful channels and beautiful production quality, and like I don't have that yet because I don't have the experience yet, you know. But it's like hard to not be nervous about not being that good yet.
That's kind of what I was trying to say with you pick a thing, like Tim helps me with my videos, and Tim usually says, well, Tim usually says, like, this is something you can work on the next video, or this is what we should. So each one, just a little bit, pick the one thing that you want to focus on and improve, because it is too much
like
at
eventually
first.
we'll get there.
Yeah, it is way too overwhelming at first to try and figure out. I didn't have lights for the first I don't know how many videos. I didn't have a microphone for how many videos. I don't know. Everyone, I was like, okay, this is the thing that I'm going to make this one better with.
But I think so much of it is also about, like, figuring out what are those things in those Vlogbrothers or Veritasium videos that you want to mimic, and figure out how you can with the tools that you have. And obviously it's maybe not going to be like professional level quality, but I find myself watching videos now and going like, ooh, I bet I can figure out in Final Cut Pro how he did that, or, you know, oh, that was a really great shot that she did. I wonder how I could incorporate something like that into my own thing. So I think always watching stuff, ready to learn something new, even if it's just like, I'm going to play around and see if I can figure out how to do that.
I think, like, Hank Green said at some point, like, if you could just make it a little bit better than what you see as normal, to have a little bit of an edge to it, to what you're doing, then that's where you should be in terms of just having general camera stuff, if you're not professional.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you're looking at the Veritasiums and the big channels, you also have to realize that that's like what they do. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily the experience, and it's not necessarily like all of the equipment they have. It's also that like the work that goes into it, and like the polishing and like and the fact that like that's their job. You know what I mean? Like,
like that gets to be their full-time job. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I have another full-time job.
If you spent enough time on one of your videos, you could get it to look as good as they did. Time and money, because you'd have to rent the camera, and you'd have to like set everything up, spend a week shooting it, a week editing it. If something wasn't right, go back and shoot it again. You know what I mean? Like, you could put in the work and get that out at the other end. But like, that's the difference, is like the work that they're doing, they've got the checklist down, they're basically doing it faster, and they know how to do it, so they're doing it faster. But if you were to sit down and take 6 months to make one video, it would be as good. You know what I mean? It's just
It's like Derek from Veritasium and Dustin from Smart Every Day. They did that like 3-year collaboration video about
that was awesome.
Cool. So cool.
Look at the work it took to do that.
3 years.
And all of that precise like screen timing and it's so cool.
That was crazy.
That was awesome.
There's,
about that right now.
There's your example, though. I mean, that's just, it comes with the time. I also think it's sort of interesting how you make a commitment too, like, or what you contribute to YouTube, because a lot of people contribute different things. If it's like beauty and fashion, you can sit down and do something simple. it's gaming, you can live stream playing a video game. If it's educational content, it takes more time, but that's the contribution you're making. So I try to pay attention when I make stuff to see in what way I'm contributing. Like, oh, this is like the Mike Falzone in me doing the walk and talks. This is the booktuber in me talking about books, and this is the ranter in me talking about philosophical things. This sort of, what am I contributing to that I can create with what I have, whether it's long or short content. Somebody left a huge message for me.
Oh, Tim, when we were talking about the external audio stuff, Tim has a DR60 and some advice and notes.
Cool.
And he was chatting with me, so I put it in there for you.
Yeah, the DR60 is another. That's why I don't like talking about necessarily brands and stuff, because the DR60 by Tascam is basically the Zoom H4n. It's like they're twins of each other. Maybe one's a little bit better, or one's a little bit worse, or the ergonomics are different, or one away. Yeah. Basically, the Tascam, just to I guess as an aside, Zoom, the company, was primarily a company that did music industry stuff. Like, it was the kind of company that did things that like guitarists and keyboardists and stuff with, and they knew that brand. But when Zoom got popular for filmmakers with the H4n, old school filmmaking guys, the people who've been in it for years, they don't know Zoom. They know Tascam because they have their Tascam mixer, so they're brand loyal to Tascam. So Tascam was smart, and they were like, let's design a Zoom H4n clone, make it the same about the same price, the same features, and let's market it to those guys who've been doing filmmaking and know and trust Tascam. So it's basically the same thing. But I guarantee you, if someone is a huge Tascam fan, they're gonna, give me some hate for that. And same with the Zooms. That's another thing.
Oh, we can't win. We just got to pick one and use it.
And there's a whole conversation about brand loyalty there.
Yeah, can't satisfy everybody. I'll take a look at that.
It's like wine. If you like red wine, and there's somebody who only likes white wine, they're going to tell you that you're an idiot for liking red wine.
It's like, can we love both?
Can't we all just get along? Let's go.
Not drinking any Merlot.
But really, you're all wrong, because Scotch is the best.
That's awesome. Next time you come to New York, Sara, we're getting a drink.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
I have a question about animation. So I have my Developmental Enthusiast channel, but I also am doing some video work for my work. So I work for the University of Minnesota here in town, and one of the things that we're doing is repackaging old content. So we've got a bunch of really long lecture videos that have really great content bits in them, and so I'm working on editing those down and sort of making a story with all this content. But a lot of it, they either have really terrible academic PowerPoint slides, the ones that have words from the very top to the very bottom, or they have pictures that we don't necessarily have the rights to distribute more broadly. And so I've kind of been playing around with a few different animation platforms, and I'm not especially graphically savvy, but I have found Movely works pretty well, and I'm wondering if you have any other suggestions for kind of beginner animation studio kind of things.
Oof. I mean, no offense, but that doesn't seem it's going to need, that kind of a project doesn't seem like it's going to need very professional looking animation. Like, I don't even know what you would do with the words. I'm not a graphic designer. I know plenty of motion graphic designers and graphic designers, and the work they do is incredible. And there's a reason why they charge $500 an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know exactly. I really wouldn't know what to do. I would just make something in Photoshop with a white background and just text, and just fade it in. I'm very, very limited myself with graphic stuff. I mean, I can do a lower third. I know some Photoshop work. I mean, maybe that's the thing I should say is it's probably better to just make something in Photoshop and just fade it in.
Okay.
Or just animate it coming in from the side or something
or
something. Just because that looks a little, for me at least, it looks a little more, you have more control over it. You make it look a little bit more unique. So yeah, it takes a little bit more work because you got to sit there and do the typing and all that stuff. But do you know some Photoshop? That's the thing. You're better off learning, investing the time in Photoshop and learning that, because it has much more applications. Like I use Photoshop for so many different things. Like here's something we never even talked about: thumbnails for.
Yes.
I'm trying to learn Photoshop for thumbnails now.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so not only will you be able to benefit from learning Photoshop by making these slides, but you can also then, by learning, like, oh my God, that's how I change the color of the font there, and this is how I make it like drop shadow. Oh, this is cool. And you know, you spend the time on the slides for work, and then you come home and you make the thumbnail for your video. You know,
right.
So, yeah.
And just to add to that, though, Inkscape is what CGP. I know I say CGP a lot, but they have
awesome.
Inkscape is fantastic. That's what I use.
They have a Cortex is kind of about how he makes the things he does and how he works in his workflow and stuff. So I listened to that, and the last one was called Zero Artistic Ability.
Woohoo! Just for me.
Yeah, because he's actually a teacher. Like that's his background. It's not an animator, and he actually started animating in like Keynote. That was his original videos, and he upgraded to Inkscape, and that's what he uses now, and he uses it because it was free.
Yeah.
So that's at least how he animates his videos.
Good to
And
know.
I have Inkscape for Mac. I have Inkscape too. It's really fascinating. Pretty recently new to me, but it works really well. Sometimes I just use the editor on the Mac and throw a font on there, and then I'm done. But a lot of times I can use Inkscape, and I just like to mess around on it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Inkscape, Backways, Zero Artistic Ability. You guys are learning me some stuff, so this is awesome. This is great.
Well, part of the reason I wanted to start this channel is the closest I get to figuring out what other YouTubers do are listening to some YouTubers' podcasts, and I'll listen to an hour-and-a-half long thing and get maybe a 5-minute nugget, something useful, and the rest of it's like, oh, this is my dog, and this is the vacation we went on. I'm like, I just want to know what software you use.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And podcasts tend to be the way they unwind from things that they have to do, so they do talk about their dogs and stuff. But, cool.
So I would love, unless somebody else has a more specific question, I would love to hear about the YouTube space in New York.
Okay.
What's that like?
It's cool. I actually went there because from working for Maker, I was shooting a video with the Gregory brothers.
Nice.
Yeah, so I shot their video. It's called Everybody. It's really funny.
Okay.
You should go to their channel and watch. It's called Everybody. There's actually a behind the scenes they put up too, where you can see the space and me with this giant camera.
That's cool. I love behind the scenes videos.
Oh, behind the scenes, yeah, it was great.
So
they made the behind the scenes themselves too. It was something that the Gregory brothers just did, for fun. I was like so thankful. And my business partner Cody is in the video. He's in it, and he gets his heart ripped out of his chest and eaten by Satan.
Nice. Nice.
Watch it. It's worth it just for that. His funeral's in 2 weeks. So the YouTube space is really cool. In order to unlock the space, you need to have a YouTube channel that has at least 5,000 subscribers.
I know.
So that can take a while to get there, obviously. The next stage after there's different levels of access. The next stage is 50,000, and the next stage after that is like 100,000 or like 500,000 or something. So basically, for a 5,000 subscriber access, which is the tier I'm in, you get to book 1 day a month of one of the studios, except for like the big ass studio. You only get like 2 or 3. There's like, I can talk about the studios themselves, but you could also schedule editing time there whenever you want. They have like professional editing suites. They have the Apple trash can computer, which is like amazingly fast. They have all the software, all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure you can go anytime you want, so long as the booths are available. You can go and edit. They have professional sound mixing, professional color grading. It's like legit. It's really awesome. They also have like sets that they like make. So they'll like when I went there for the first time, they had a working subway car like with sliding doors and stuff, and it was like so cool. I think that might only be access for the 50,000, but it's still really cool just to see. I wasn't able to use it, but it's like they'll let you know when you're like in the group. They'll let you know like, hey, we just built this set. You know, come and use it. You know, they really super cool with like.
Cool. That's really cool.
They're so nice
Awesome.
there. Like they just want you to come use the space. Like they just want you to go. And they have 4 studios, A, B, C, and D. They have A, B, and C are pretty much the same size. D is huge. They have like an area for like live events with like a giant monitor. You can pretty much research it and there'll be pictures and stuff. They also have like a little set that's like a diner. It's like a few benches of a diner that's built there. The whole place, even like the hallways and like the bathrooms have like stuff to hang lights and stuff. So it's like, you know what I mean? So, like, even
That's
like,
cool.
but we need
Really
a
like creator friendly.
yeah, we just need a scene in a hallway. They're good. You're good. And at first they didn't have that. They
Awesome.
actually got like suggestions from people, or people would just start to shoot. Hey, we have a scene that's in the hallway. Can we just shoot here? Yeah, sure. Hey, you know what? Why don't we make rigging so we can like light?
Fantastic. They just
I know they're so
really
dope.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
but that's the thing. You know, once you do get to the 5,000 subscriber mark, there's like a whole thing. They walk you hand in hand through the process. You have to do an online orientation where it's like, welcome to the YouTube space. Here's everything you can't do. Here's everything you can do. And it's like what they're really concerned with is copyright. So, you know, if there's any pictures, you have to get them cleared. You can't use anything copyright. Logos, it got to be all nice and clean. You know, no copyright music in it, which kind of sucks because then you got to start to research like copyright-free music and stuff. So that can be sort of a hindrance, and we sat for like a 45-minute lecture from a lawyer about this stuff when we went to do the orientation, so they're like serious about it. And then, of course, in order to even get the thing unlocked, you can't have any strikes on your channel, so you can't have any copyright strikes already on your channel or like really big slaps on the wrist or anything. But other than that, they have amazing equipment. They've got cameras like the T5i, like they'll have something like the 70D, the 60D, the 5D Mark III. But then they'll get like super advanced cameras. They'll have the Red Epic. They'll have the Canon C series, like the C300, the C500.
wow, cool.
So for me, like that's awesome. Like I've rented out those cameras on productions in general for just, you know, my job. But just having them there to use for free, a Red for free is like
That's
nuts.
amazing.
Because a Red to rent, plus with the lenses they have available to rent a day, a Red's like, you know, $500 a day to rent, plus the lenses and stuff. Plus you need to pay for the insurance policy, the short-term insurance policy you need to get, because you can't cover that all on a credit card. So I've been there. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they have awesome lights. And what's really cool also is all of the studios are set up with like lights that are already pre-hung and on a switchboard. So basically, like we told them for the Gregory Brothers shoot, we need to do just one scene on green screen. So we come in, the green screen's down. It's like you go over to the board, all the lights go up, boom, green screen, you're lit, done, ready to go. You don't need to light it. They're super cool. They're super cool.
That's cool.
If you have like really high-end, like legit productions, there's like a whole way in it's all done in a booking tool that's online. So it's like you don't really speak to a human unless you need to. There is a person that you can email. There's like your like liaison, but pretty much you're just gonna say use the online tool. Use the online tool. So like you just book the day. Here's the camera I want to use. You kind of have to know what you want. You have to know like what this camera is and what it does or all this equipment. So having like a film background it's sort of catered towards like actual film production people, like unions and things like you sort of need to know what you're doing, filmmakers and stuff. So for a blogger, you know, it might be a little bit overwhelming, or it's going to be cameras that like you have no reason to use. But come at me on Twitter, and I'll be your crew. I'll come. If you're in the New York space and you seriously like add me on Twitter, like Steve, I'm shooting at the YouTube space. Are you free? I'll come help. I wanna meet people. I wanna help. I'm there. That's why I make the channel. You know, I have to book my next day there too.
That's how I met Steve. Was at a SciJoy hangout, and you were offering to help SciJoy. You're like, I'll just whatever. I love science. I'll just start recording stuff for you. I know you guys need help. Blah blah blah. So
that's awesome.
He really. And then I told him about my channel, and he was like, yeah, let me know if there's anything you need to film. So he's serious about it.
I'm serious.
If you guys ever come over to I don't know where all you guys live, but if you ever come over to New York.
Yeah, come to New York, plan a vacation. What'd you say?
I'm in New York.
Nice. Whereabouts?
Like Binghamton
Okay.
University.
Come down to the
You know where that
city.
is?
We'll
New
hang
York
out.
State.
Yeah,
If you're old enough, I'll buy a beer, and that's what we'll
just barely.
I can't tell.
That's good. I don't look old, so you know, I benefit. But yeah, that's cool. That's really neat just to hear about a place like that. It's just available.
It's incredible.
Because it's there to use. Yeah.
And they're trying to open up more of them. I know that I got an email today from the creators blog that they opened up another one in another country. But
Yeah.
they are
There's
trying
a couple new ones in other countries are opening. Yeah.
It's really cool too because like Veritasium, Vsauce, they use the space. Like it's like why not? You know what I mean? Like when I was at the one in New York doing just my own personal tutorial, I saw the guys from Barely Political there. Those guys, they were in the last Gregory Brothers thing, but the Key of Awesome, those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Key of Awesome, those guys were just there, walking around doing stuff. So like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You run into people.
And they do have networking things. I just got a notification that they have a speed dating network thing up there on Wednesday. They can speed date other creators and get to figure out how to network and collaborate.
Funny.
Which I can imagine what that's going to look like. A bunch of introverted YouTubers all trying to speed date each other.
That could be the key you need, though, because it's so hard to just be like, hi, I'm, you know, just like go throw in there and do it and see what happens.
Take my business cards.
Make it rain business cards.
I gave my business card out the other day, and now I'm on some email list, and now I'm pissed. Come on.
That's annoying.
After the first, I only met you one time. You can put me on your email list. There's a question actually from the YouTube channel from a dude named Bike Montreal, which actually sounds like a great idea. How do you go about getting royalty-free music? Do you create it yourself or download it from sites and edit it? That is one of the biggest pains in the butts.
YouTube library. That's where you can go. I mean, there's a lot on there. YouTubers I know YouTubers with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that still use the YouTube library for music. It'd be really funny. Like at VidCon, some of the panelists, some of like the huge YouTubers, they couldn't explain shutter speed and aperture. Like some of them just don't know, and that's okay. They just have what works, and they know how to use it, but they don't know exact science behind it. But sometimes it's good to know.
I'm a big Vine guy. Like I love Vine, and you'll hear like the same few songs and like all the same videos. In fact, sometimes they'll even make fun of it. It's like when you hear this track, you know this was like YouTube library or something. But there's a lot of websites out there. There's one called freesound.org. There's one called APM Music. It sucks. You gotta pay. You gotta like freesound.org will have like tracks. Some of them have horrible search engines. Like I want a certain kind of song that's like this way, and it's like folk song. Enter, and it's like instead of giving you all folk songs, it'll give you a track that someone made that they titled folk song.
Yeah, I like the tag.
The tag, yeah. Exactly.
I try to find YouTubers that like are on SoundCloud that I do what's his name?
That's another good idea too, because there are people that make their own stuff.
And I think
there's a guy on YouTube named like Nikolai Headless, and he makes a YouTuber and he makes sound, and he says just put him in the description and cite him, and you can use the music all you want, and his music's fantastic.
There's there are a couple of places like that I've discovered. I think it's in Comptech is one, and then a guy by the name of Kevin McLeod. He's another one that I've seen pop up a lot. So I think both of those are like Creative Commons license, use it however you want kind of thing. So they have some good options too.
What I like doing too is it takes a little bit more time. So if you're in a rush, it's not good. But like I like YouTubing some people, especially if they don't have a lot of views or whatever, or some bands. Find some bands and stuff that have their stuff out there and just send them a message like, hey, it just happened the other day. Like a friend of Cody's is a band called the Mad Doctors. Go check them out. And some like Australian production company said like, hey, we have this skate video and we love your track. I don't know if they paid him anything, but if you could negotiate a deal with them, that'd be awesome. But most bands want their stuff to be heard, and they're gonna promote it after it's out. So it's a two-way street. Like here's a song, here's a video that I want to be promoted, and the band will promote it for me. And then here's a cool song that I want people to hear, and it's in a video that this company's making. So it's like that's a way to go too. And the great thing about that is it's usually these bands do tend to spend some time on these recordings, and you know they can sound pretty good.
That's pretty good
You
quality.
just need the permission, you know.
Right.
That's another thing. That's another thing about filmmaking in general for beginners is like you can really get a lot by asking. A lot of people are scared. A lot of people, you know, just be like, nah, they're never gonna. No, go, be. There's something that a guy I heard say once. He didn't come up with this, but he was like, it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a bit of a kind of scary thing to say. But basically, just be nice, be cool.
But it's like people. Sometimes people take like refusal as rejection. Like if you ask somebody for something and they don't want to give it to you, they're not rejecting you as a person. It's just
they just don't want to give you the thing.
Right.
Yeah. Did he freeze? Did Steven freeze again?
I'm good. I'm still here.
Oh, I see. Oh, your little icon froze. But yeah, just ask. And like people want to collaborate. People want to just build a community of people. Like I go to another person's channel and I see like 6 people that I know in the other channel. It's like, oh, look, another corner of the internet where other people are that I know. It's just,
sometimes it's your
really
job too. I was on. Remember that panel that I was talking about, the viral video making group. Eventually, the people who put it on decided to make a viral video. This was years ago, and this was when there was already a viral video out of a bridal party dancing down the aisle to a Chris Brown song. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
A couple of months after, there was a divorce video where it was like people in a courtroom dancing down, getting divorced. That was the company that that went viral. That went like they also like pushed it really hard. Like they tried to like blog it and Reddit it and did all this work to try to like push it. And it was a good idea and it got viral. And my job that day, I was like, I'll just come. You know, they didn't have any money, so I was like, I'll be a PA. I'll be a production assistant. And we were there, and it was like, we need to fill up this courtroom. They got an actual courtroom in the south of Manhattan to like shoot in. And it was like, we don't have any people. So what did I have to do? I had to walk outside. Say like, hey, we're filming a viral video. Do you guys want to help out? Hey, we're filming a viral video. You guys want to help out? And it was like, yeah, here you go. This way. And we had like a bucket brigade. Like, go see that person up there. It was almost walking up to strangers. We filled that courtroom. People hear video, TV, they're like, okay, cool, they're tourists in Manhattan. It's like, they're still thinking about that to this day. Remember that time we went to Manhattan? We were just in the South, and we were in Tribeca, and like we were in a viral video? That was crazy.
That's a great fear story. Like, go hang out with your friends. You're like, that's what I did.
It's a story that they're going to
travel
their lives. Yeah. So
hang around the YouTube space and the courses.
Yeah. Who knows what you'll get asked to do?
You know what'll happen.
You get a lot by asking.
Yeah.
There's my proof.
Me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
That's a good idea.
So do you have any advice for promoting stuff?
Oh yeah.
Great.
Not my realm, I guess. But for promoting, you know, I don't really know. I would say Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. Just do every social media you can. Instagram. You know, nowadays you can buy likes and buy things. At some point, I don't know. I would just imagine at some point things would catch. Everyone's looking to make a viral video. Everyone's looking to be, you know, everyone wants everybody to see their stuff. But I think it's more about just keep making it and keep doing it, and eventually, you know, like I see my channel as like still so small. Like I would love to have 1 million subscribers. I could see so many things. I could see brand deals. I could see like Canon coming to me and being like, hey, we have a new camera coming out. Your website's amazing. You make these amazing reviews. Test this camera up a month before it hits the market and put out a video so that 1 million people see it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of room for growth. I'm just so busy with all this other stuff, you know? But it's just do what you want to do and just don't stop. Just keep doing it.
Sort of watch what sticks. Like there are certain things that I create that I never expect is going to stick, and that's the stuff that sticks. And for some reason, it just does. And then you can continue those things, and that's a lot of times where your majority of your audience comes from. It's just with stuff that sticks.
You just throw enough poop at the wall. So
the other thing too is so you can fail a lot, but sometimes you only have to succeed big one time, and that gives you some momentum.
Well, yeah. I mean, for instance, when I first started at Maker, there was a viral video of a dog, a husky, on a bed, going, Mishka, say I love you. Mishka, I love you. And the dog's just like, I love you. And it made like 100 million views. This was back when Maker was like finding people like this. But that channel got signed by Maker. Within like the first month I started working at Maker, we were out in Jersey in that dude's garage with a green screen shooting these dogs on a green screen. Not knowing what we would do with the footage, just shoot the dogs on green screen, we'll figure it out later. And then they were one of the most consistent clients. Like, they turned a viral video into a business, into a thing. So if something does stick, keep on riding, keep on going. You know what I mean? Like, use the attention that you get to milk it as much as you can. It's like, it sucks. It might be like soul selling, because I'm sure this guy who owned that dog, he wanted to be a graphic designer. He didn't want to be a manager of his dog. You know what I mean? So try to go with what sticks and try to get as much attention as possible, and then leverage it towards what you really want to do. Like with my channel, every video I put up, I'm like, go check out my company, ReThink Films. Here's our reel. If that video is working, Jacklyn, this would be a great time to play. but we can link to it or whatever we can do. But yeah, so I want to do more, short films, narrative films, sketch comedy, and stuff like that. But this tutorial channel is where the eyeballs are. It's what's allowed me to do this hangout with you guys. And so now it's like, okay, I'm getting a bigger fan base over here. How can I get more eyeballs towards the real passion that I do? Yeah, you can see the passion in what I'm doing because I love what I'm doing. So that's awesome that I'm not like, I don't have a 50,000 subscriber channel for like knitting or something. I mean, I don't want to get knitting. You don't really want to do.
It's a passion. It's video. So
exactly. So I feel it's a good option because like so many people out there now are doing film, and it's like I got something to say. I don't know how it happened.
It just happened.
I got something to say, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't going for viral. That's not really my stick. No. It's more of a community building kind of thing. I just didn't know if you were like, oh, you know what? I know there's this one blog that does photography, and I'm gonna send it there, or if like you did anything like that, or if you just put it out there and it kind of just eventually, after so many, it kind of just happened.
For like some of my videos have like hundreds of thousands of views, which is like nuts. Yeah. But I kind of say that like, wow, it stuck, or wow, this was good. But I kind of was just looking for things that people were not explaining as good, like three-point lighting. I just typed in. Someone said to me like, because I found out that stupid thing about my camera, and I posted that, people asked me this question. Oh, okay. And then I did a multi-clip video because I found out what a multi-clip was and how to do it the right way. I was like, oh. But then people will say to me, like, what about three-point lighting? And I was like, what's three-point lighting? Like, why would you even need to watch a video about that? It's so simple. It's just key hair fill, and it's just this and that and the other thing. But wait, I guess you could have a video about this. Let me see if anyone else made a video about this. Go on three-point lighting. Well, yeah, but that doesn't look good, or you forgot about that. But then there's this little thing. All right, screw it. I guess I'm going to make a video about three-point lighting, and that video probably right now has the most views that I've ever on any of my videos. And it's like, I just tried to do it right. I was in a big studio. I had the lights all set up. I put a lot of work into it. It took me a good hour and a half to set up all that stuff, to talk at length about what I wanted to say, to figure out all the things I wanted to say. And there are things I got wrong. There was one part where I said, like, if you want the light to be dimmer, push it away from you. And the light also gets softer as you push it away from you. Somebody commented, the light doesn't get softer when you push it away, it gets harder, which means it has to do with shadows. The shadow behind you on the wall will have a more blending into the thing. When a light source becomes more of a pinpoint, that's the harder the shadow will get. I learned that because I screwed up making that video. So my own knowledge of three-point lighting was now enhanced and better because of a thing that I thought I knew a lot about. It turns out I knew like not as much as I thought I knew. So,
cool thing about
I never claimed to be a master. I never claimed to be a master at this. I was just good at explaining it, in a way that was just quick and easy, and like I could put myself in the heads of a beginner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's really it's a really good point, especially as we're thinking about education stuff, that you have to be good at explaining complex things and explaining it better than anybody else does, right? Like that has to be the thing. You have to be a really good science communicator or, educational communicator, and that's a whole other call.
Explaining something that nobody's ever really thought about or seen in a specific way. Like I was reading this popular science article, and it's got like a bunch of scientists on it. It's from, I don't know if you guys know Popular Science. Neil deGrasse Tyson takes stuff in liquid nitrogen and smacks a hammer on it. But one of the last sentences he says is, when you're first in the world to know something, there's nothing like it. There's no salary and there's no car you can drive to substitute for the feeling. That's sort of like when you're learning something new and you don't find another source of where it is on the internet, and you go, nobody's seen it like this or understands this, that sort of gives you that motivation and feeling to just share it immediately so people know about it. And maybe that's sort of like the three-point lighting thing. People knew about it, but they'd never really communicated how to approach it. So
yeah, it's also a thing, like for me, when you're so immersed in what you do, like when you're an expert in what you do, this is my job, it's like I find myself having to really think and go, think about the basics and realize that what is so natural and obvious to me is not at all obvious to someone who doesn't do it. And that is a trait that I think I am not in a club. I think that is a trait that is rare, not to like compliment myself, but most of the filmmakers I talk to, most people I work with on a set, on a job or stuff like that, are so ingrained in their sort of basic knowledge and their sort of stuff. All their obvious things and when they're on set and they're trying to explain something or this, that, and the other thing, it's not getting through, especially if it's a PA and it's or it's an intern. You know what I mean? It's like I'll go up to a PA and I'll be like, can you set up a C-stand? Yeah, I can set up a C-stand. He's like, you sure you can set up a C-stand? Do you know what a C-stand is? What's a C-stand? I'm like, okay, you don't know what a C-stand is. Okay, so here it is. This blah blah blah. Turn it, blah, doing that. That should be another tutorial I do. Sure, C-stand tutorial. That'd be awesome. But and so it's sort of one of the reasons why we named our company ReThink Films, because it is a constant reminder to not sort of forget about the basics. When something doesn't work, don't be afraid to just throw it all out, rethink it, and start over again. And it's a very scientific thing, I think. And so,
Yeah, I would say from an academic perspective, it's so true. There are so many times in my life where, like, I've studied things and I discovered them for the first time for me, 8 to 10 years ago, and now I'm having conversations with people and I'll say something to me that's really, simple and foundational to child development or whatever, and they'll be like, "Whoa, you just blew my mind! I had no idea," and I'm like, "Oh." Yeah. Well, I forgot that was a thing I learned at some point.
Exactly.
This other person might not know it.
Once you can identify those things, then that's a good tutorial for me, at least. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, my God. And somebody said to me, like, that's another tutorial I want to do. See, I even forgot. Like, I want to do one about lenses. And
I was just gonna ask you about lenses, actually.
Yeah, and I was like, what is there to know about lenses? It's like, all of that. Okay, yeah. And in preparation, I mean, I had some lenses sitting here.
No, it's like, right? It's like, this is like a macro lens. Like, what's happening? Like, what?
Yeah, right. I mean, what are the differences between a macro lens and a wide angle?
Why does it look like when you shine on a light on it, it's got all these like curvature layers on the inside? And like, what's going on? Like, how do
There's a lot, man.
Why does it look upside down?
There's a lot, and I still don't know everything, but I think enough to sort of clear up a bit of confusion on lenses.
At least from our level of stuff, yes, because from our level of stuff, like you're saying, that's what we need, the three-point lighting, or what's the lenses, or how to do focus, just simple. Like when you I think I watched your external audio recorder, and you're like, we're not going to look at these 7 menus. We're focusing on just this. And I'm like, I hate the videos that are 40 minutes long and tell me all the options, and then I'm like, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, if it was a product review, then I would go, then you have to go through all the menu things. Like I have a video where it's the Blackmagic 4K camera, and it's like I take the half hour and go through every single menu setting because you know, for a product review, that's sort of what you have to do. But no, for like how to record audio, like listen, if you don't learn about it, read the manual. And that's another thing. It's like the first time I ever worked with a red, it's like I knew I was going to work with a red. I had been on set with a red before. I had seen one. I never touched it, but I know how to shoot cameras. I know what shutter speed, f-stop, all that stuff is. You know, I'm a film guy. I never touched a red, no, but like a camera's a camera, you know. But okay, here's my first real gig with a red camera. First thing I did, downloaded the manual, and I read it like 3 times. And that's not a thin manual. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what level you get to, like sometimes read the manual. You know what I mean? Like that's part of your job. That's part of what, you know, the part of the time that goes into it. Like, you think about like Steven Spielberg, or you think about like Wally Pfister. If anybody knows who Wally Pfister is, they get a point. But you think about them, you think about he was the cinematographer on Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises. If you think about guys like that, you never think about like, oh, at some point they read the camera manual. But if a new camera comes out, if some new company out of nowhere comes out of the woodwork and it's like, hey, here's this new camera, the first thing those DPs are doing, even in the Hollywood things, is they're reading the manual. They're doing it. And I learned that from a DP because I worked on a film that shot 35 millimeter. I didn't even touch 35 millimeter when I was in college, but the DP was super cool. He was like, come over to my place. I got a dummy thing. I got the dummy film. Here's the PDF of the manual. I printed it out. I stapled it all nice, put it in a nice little binder. I read the manual. It's like that's part of what you do. I rambled on there for a second. There was something I was going to say.
It's like the access. It's the early access to the experience. You were just near it. You didn't. But by the time you got to it, you knew about it and you were ready to take that first opportunity to use it instead of somebody just plopping the camera in your arms and going, here, like right
True, but if I didn't. But when you're reading the manual, it'll say like, to control the f-stop, do this. You don't know what f-stop is.
Yeah,
that's not like intuitive. Yeah.
To control the shutter speed, and you want to be at 180-degree shutter. I don't know what that, you know, I knew what that was up into that point because my career had brought me there. So I was ready to take that next step to the 4K cinema area. So things do come with a prerequisite sometimes. But hey, if I was reading manuals, like, oh, control the f-stop. What's f-stop?
Yeah,
you know, I mean, if you do that, you can teach yourself anything, really.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, hopefully, if you're doing the right thing, that is fascinating too. Like, it's interesting to read the manual if you're interested in the thing that you're reading about.
I love reading the manuals.
Yeah,
the manuals
because
are the best.
It's because to people like reading the manual could be the most. It's like so I have this sometimes I have this theory, like you have the level of entertainment and activity you're doing, and then you have an activity that you're doing where you have to be so interested in what you're doing that the entertainment is like little to no value. Like in reading, it's not entertaining. You are make the universe in your head, just like when you're reading a camera manual, you're like creating what you're going to do in your head. So that's why like things like reading people find very boring because there's no entertainment value to it. But that's where the real work is done. Like when you do math, you sit and you do math. Like you don't watch videos about math, you sit and you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love reading the camera manual because I'll be like, oh my God, Cody, oh my God, look what the camera can do. It does this thing. That's awesome. Like for instance, on the Everybody video, the Shmo Yoho video, there's a thing that camera can do that like DSLRs can't do, and it seems so simple, but it's basically, you ever see a music video where someone is singing and their lips are in sync with the song, they're totally in time, but it's all slow-mo? You know what I mean? Like everything's moving in slow-mo, but yet they're still singing in sync. How do they do that?
How does that work?
Do that by, one, taking the song and speeding it up 2 times. So now the song is sped up. So when you're playing it back, you're playing it back in the place you're at, and it's going like, you know, if it's like, you know, if it's give me a song, you know, I don't know, if it's you know, Happy Birthday, it's like Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you, you know, it's like much sped up. But you also have to change the camera to shoot twice as fast.
Twice as fast, right?
Right.
You have to shoot it in
But then
48 frames a second rather than 24 frames a second.
And more frames.
That's so cool.
So when you shoot it in 48 frames a second and you're listening to the double speed, when you play it back, when you play it back at 24 frames a second,
Well done.
it's now slow-mo, but you're also playing, and the math, then that's where math comes in too, because the math has to be the same. If you're going to speed up the song twice, you have to do the thing. And we also, I never got to do this, but when you know all these things, you can start to like apply them in cool creative ways. We also had a part of the song where a tiny man was singing, a little like miniature. We shot it on green screen, but he's a tiny man. So what we did was we slowed the song down. So now we slowed it down half speed, so now it's like, happy birthday. You know what I mean? It's like longer, but we also shot it in 12 frames a second. So now when he goes to sing it back, he's all sped up and going crazy, but his voice is still in sync with the song.
Right.
And so it's like when you know all these cool techniques, the big no-no is to do it just to do it. The big thing is to find a creative reason to do those creative techniques. I don't know if anybody of you saw Mad Max Fury Road. Did you see that? The beginning of the beginning of the movie, not to spoil it, but the beginning of the movie is very frenetic, fast-paced. He's trying to escape from these creatures and stuff. It's like really nutty. And they shot that, I would imagine, I haven't been on like cinematographer websites, but it looks like they shot it at around 16 to 18 frames a second, because when they play it back, everything at the beginning of that movie is sped up, and it looks and it I know those filmmakers are old school, because like they barely used CG and green screen, so I know they did that in camera. They had to in the camera. They turned the frame rate down.
So they made it more intense because of how it was sped up. It was really action packed and
exactly. And that's the job. That's the best thing about being a cinematographer, is like once you know all these like cool funky techniques that you can like do for no reason on like a music video, or do for no reason because you're just about it. When you find a thematic, story-driven reason to do those techniques, it just amplifies it, and you don't. The regular modern viewer will not really know it. They'll feel it in like a unconscious way. But when you're a filmmaker and you see it, you go, "Oh wow, great choice to do that. I really think that was cool." And so you can get like an extra level out of a film.
Right.
What's really interesting, the other thing I thought about too, is when you create pieces of art, when you create value for people, it's sort of, if you know all the logistics behind it, like, I'm not going to say that it doesn't make you feel as great watching it, having edited it and done everything all over again, but the people that watch it for the first time, they feel the content more than. I'm trying to explain, like Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about Vincent van Gogh's painting. Like he painted what was in the landscape, but he made you feel the painting instead of just being like, oh, this is the strokes and this is this part and this part. So when you create a movie and somebody, or a video and somebody sees it for the first time, they feel it more than you do, because, not to say that those feelings aren't equally valuable, they feel it more than you do because they're seeing it for the first time, and all that work that you've done is condensed into one product.
That's a good point.
So that's just like you said in the beginning of that movie, they sped it up because they want that person watching to feel the action and intensity in the beginning.
And to go back to what we were saying before about like the basics and like putting yourself in a beginner's shoes, you have to do that when it is so crucial to do that when making a film, because the people seeing the film are seeing it for the first time. And I've seen YouTubers, I've seen the Gregory Brothers, I've seen people making art where lots of things are sort of like an inside joke, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't really explained, and the Gregory Brothers stuff tends to be a bit bizarre, because what ends up happening is they'll sit around and they'll and I've been there eating pizza, and they'll come up with these like funny jokes, and they're hysterical, right? But in practice, when it's filmed, it's not as funny because they didn't explain what it is. They didn't,
the audience isn't in on the joke.
There's no commentary. It's like a nerd fighter joke that doesn't sit well with new people.
Right.
They didn't put themselves in the heads of, not to poke on the Gregory Brothers because they're great people, they're awesome, they're brilliant. They're brilliant people. But it's so crucial to be able to have the ability to watch the thing you're making as if you're watching it for the first time. And
that's
it's really good. it's hard. It's very hard. It's a very hard thing to do. Like, how is someone gonna feel? You have to. It's why a lot of times movies will be shown to test audiences. You know, and then they'll take notes. They'll figure out where people are laughing, where people are. You know, you can, like I was saying before, right at the beginning. Like, there's an energy with a live audience. You know, you can sit there in the theater and watch your first cut with a test audience and feel the moments that are not working right.
Yeah, they did that with Pixar. Like I saw behind the scenes of some like Monsters University, where that's where they work for like years on certain movies and storylines and edits of, oh my gosh, like, oh man, some movies, like I watched the behind the scenes on Inside Out, and they said they had somewhere near like 175,000 tiny storylines for the movie, and like all that time, and they had to like send like 120,000 to the editor. Like, they just cut like a quarter of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. So having that ability to put yourself in the eyeballs of the person seeing for the first time is sort of the same thing that I put towards the tutorials as well. It's like, what is it like? What is it like? Try to remember a time when I didn't know this.
Right, when you didn't know what you know.
Right. And like we Cody and I shot a film called The Homeless, which is up on our YouTube channel, which y'all can watch. And that thing was like about a year of pre-production, a solid 2 months of production, a year or more of post-production. It's like this is a chapter of our lives that every day we're talking about, thinking about, trying to make it the right way. And when you're that engrossed in something, like, how can you try and forget what is about to come? How can you sit there and try to not tell yourself that you don't know what that next edit's going to be? Because I know every edit of that.
Yeah, you know exactly everything about it.
So how does the timing play out when I already know what's about to happen?
It's like you lose sight of it, sort of.
Two things to kind of add to that. One, in analytics for YouTuber side, in analytics you can see audience retention, so you can actually see where your audience is like, nope, I'm over this video.
You're a scientist.
If there's spikes and stuff, they said that's where they sometimes rewind to rewatch, and that's either because they liked it or maybe because it was confusing. I don't know. That's the thing I would really love to know.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you guys, if you ever want, since we're a little community of people, I do this with, like, Tim and I do this with our videos. We send them to each other beforehand and as unlisted and go through it. Because at some point, especially if you're doing education, you're just like, I don't even know if these words are words anymore.
You get so desensitized to your own words and your own content. Yeah, you just get desensitized to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever want to do that, I think most of us follow each other on Twitter. Just send a link with a direct message or on Slack or whatever and say, hey, this is a rough cut of my thing. Can you look over it? Or, hey, this is a script. Or that's what we're here for. So you don't have to get through the end, post it, and then have people say, that didn't make any sense. We're those people for you if there's ever a video that you need that for.
I rely on my mother, who's watching right now, I think, too. I posted a video that I did. Hi, Ma. I posted a video that I did in college. Not a video, a film. I shot a 16mm film my second year of college. And then maybe like a year ago, I posted it up on YouTube. But of course, I George Lucased it. You know, I went in there, I redid the credits. I know more about color correction now, so I made it pop a little bit more. And I dropped in a new title. The name of the film is Make Much of Time. And I did all this stuff. I did it like on a whim. It was like, started like 11 o'clock at night. I finished like 3 in the morning. I put it up. Next morning, I sent it to my mom, and my mom watched it, and she goes, this says much of time. That's supposed to say that? I was like, oh, crap.
Everyone's confused.
Those are the most painful ones.
Yeah,
oh, God.
Down. I had to redo it, re-upload it, and I was like... People had already commented on it. They're like, "This is a nice thing." You know?
Or my title won't match the thumbnail. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I change the title at the last second, and the thumbnail doesn't match it. Not that that would affect it much, but it could.
I am a victim of that as well. Of being like, oh no, this is fine. I'm good. put it up. Like, you can always use feedback. You can always use feedback.
Yeah.
I actually had a video recently that I use the family that I work for. We're all very close now because I've been with them for 7 years. And the kid's mother is one of my very good friends, and I showed her one of my videos, and she said at the end, she's like, you know, you say thank you like 3 times. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't pick up on that. Thanks for that. Let me cut out 2 of those.
And sometimes little kids too, even like if they can understand it and they can watch little videos, because they see things. I'm just convinced that they see things that we just don't see. And they make sure it has like a fun factor to it. Like I watch Soul Pancake all the time. They're always interviewing little kids on it.
Because Kid President is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Kid President.
Soul Pancake. No. I wrote
You don't know that?
No.
Soul Pancake's good.
I'm old, man. I'm old. I'm still.
Yeah, Gil's still got a nice little pancake.
Rainn Wilson from The Office. Is it The Office?
I don't watch
We used to be on it, right?
I watch science videos. Yeah, I think I want to go now.
I think we've exhausted it. Yeah.
Thanks for your brain.
But can we do this again sometime? This would be cool.
Yeah, whenever you guys are up for it. It did go very long. I usually just let it go until people are like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I think I had to call it. There's a short rib sandwich for me waiting in the fridge. I can't wait to eat.
Nice.
Sorry, vegetarians and vegans.
No. I like meat. I'm with you.
Okay. I mean, I'll take one last one though, just to give it a good send off.
Anybody? I'm looking in the comments.
There's 7 people.
One
One of them is me because I have the window open.
Nice. It's better than 6, man. It's like when I was a little kid and we went bowling and I got 1 pin, my father would always say, better than none.
Better than none.
It's the start, small steps.
Exactly.
And just a suggestion maybe for your Twitter feed. I don't know what you're planning to do with it, but if you do come up with little tips that you've been telling us this whole time, just tweet them out.
Yeah.
If you can't make a whole video on it, because I think that would be really helpful for us.
So basic. Like, follow my Twitter so that you can get little tidbits of filmmaking advice. Like that,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think about doing that. I was just gonna do like, hey, I'm eating a sandwich now. No, see, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm being serious.
As you're making your tutorial video, go over to your phone every once in a while and just tweet a little thing and be like, I'm making a video on this. Here's a little sneak peek.
So true. Yeah. I imagined I'd use it for like, I'd tweet up like a behind the scenes picture of some tutorial I'm working on or a production I'm working on. That's something I actually want to do more of on my channel. I want to, when my company ReThink is making a video for a client or whatever, like I want to like make sure that we take time to show a behind the scenes, maybe like on the set, show a quick like thing. Now this would be for a little bit more advanced. Like I don't know how like beginner bloggers and stuff might benefit from it, but just to see like a behind the scenes is always cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see that stuff. Like I'm a nerd. I'd be like, cool, that's fine.
I'm just like a C-stand. Like what a C-stand is. Like it's for me. It's like. And like being on a set, like people will be like, "Why are you talking about a C-stand? Like that's the most basic." I'm like, "Well, that's my channel, man.
I'm nurturing future filmmakers in my Twitter feed."
Yeah. And that's great for me too, because then like the subscribers that I have will watch behind the scenes and then maybe go, "Oh, I wonder what that actual video is," and go watch the video. It's been a reverse thing up until now, I think. Like in general, it's like people watch the video, then they get curious about the behind the scenes. Like this is like a reverse thing for me. It's like the behind the scenes are what the people are going to be coming to see the tutorial and like the information, and then like maybe they'll come watch the sketch comedy commercial we shot too. So,
well, you appeal to the creators and the consumers, whether or not they're more one or the other with that video that you make.
I'm like a banana. I'm appealing.
That is an excellent way to end the video.
I agree.
With a pun.
Even out.
Perfect. Perfect.
I have my own TV show or something.
There you go.
I've had